come in from the mining industry where we know the challenges, and we want to bring that experience to do more and more deals with our own partners and our own fellow miners. Yeah, we want to grow. We're in the mood to do deals. We move super fast. We have access to significant capital. We're debt free. We have a super tight share structure. And just to put this valuation round in perspective, coming out at 0.2 times price to NAV, we're all about moving quickly and giving our shareholders significant upside. Harry just wants to get it built, right? There's so much fat in that ore body. There's so much potential. It could become a very lucrative royalty. But look, we're in the mood to be bigger than Elemental. We want to be bigger than Versamet. We're already going to be bigger than Gold Royalty, and we're much, much bigger than Vox and Metala. And incidentally, Stein, we're planning to list Chancery Royalty in the next 3 months. Just click on the More button under your video, and that will take you into a landing page for Chancery Royalty. Just fill in your name, your email, and your number, and would happily give you a call.
Jeremy Gray, CEO of Chancery Royalty. Of course, we've had you on the channel for multiple other firms in the past, and this one, Chancery Royalty, almost feels like going full circle.
It sure is, Stein. We're building what we think will be the fastest growing gold and silver royalty group in the market, and we're leveraging off 7 years of hard work, building 4 very successful gold mining companies, thanks to the amazing support of all of our 1,400 investors. So yeah, we're super excited at a time when Tether's buying every stake that they can get their hands on, and the valuations for royalty companies are going to the moon.
It's definitely an incredibly interesting time to be launching a royalty company, Jeremy, and I would love to go into your assets for a second. You have this profile here outlined of how many GEOs, gold equivalent ounces, you predict you're going to get from these mines. Perhaps you can outline what royalties are currently included in Chancery Royalty.
Yes, Stein, we've basically created this with 3 producing royalties from Pilar Gold, Laiva Gold, and the silver credit from Gold Road in Arizona that you visited. In fact, you visited all of our gold mines. And we just signed a binding agreement with Kefi Gold in Ethiopia for a royalty of up to 9% on their world-class mine that should produce 175,000 ounces a year. And we think Kefi is probably the most exciting undeveloped gold mine in all of Africa today, and we're super excited about partnering up with Kefi and also becoming a big shareholder of theirs.
Yeah, that's definitely a big needle mover for you guys in this production profile that you're outlining, or geo profile, I should say, from 2028, 2029 onwards. It could be a substantial part of your royalty streams. However, I would like to quickly start with some of the other ones. Let's start with Laiva Gold, perhaps. I believe that's the first royalty that perhaps started it all for this firm. Can you take us along? What is the asset, and really what are the terms of the royalty on the asset?
Yeah, and you've been to Finland, you've visited Laiva. That was the second mine that we bought back in 2022, actually. And the 2.5% royalty life of mine came on the market recently. We bought that from the seller. And that has a no cap, no step down. So basically, we think that mine should run for at least the next 30 years, and we'll receive a 2.5% of their production at $0 an ounce, hopefully for, at least for the next 30 years of production. So super fantastic jurisdiction in the heart of Europe, and a wonderful way to start the business.
Yeah, you outlined something really interesting there. No cap, no step down. Of course, some streams or some royalties, have these terms attached with them. So much percentage for so long, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This royalty is 2.5% for the rest of life of mine on the entire concession, isn't it?
Yes, on both open pits and the district. And also it goes into production around March or April of next year under the amazing management of John Williamson, who we handed the reins over to John a year ago. He's done a fantastic job with the whole team, and they've raised a significant amount of capital to have a very strong restart in Q1. So really excited about Laiva, and I think it's going to be a $1 billion company when it lists. It's actually listing, I think, in January. Laiva Gold is listing, and we spun that out of Pilar Gold when we to all of our shareholders 3 years ago.
Yeah, and there's a team here. You acquired that mine, of course. We've talked about this extensively, really for cents on the dollar back in the day, and now this royalty also. Similar terms, cents on the dollar.
Yeah, it was a very nice price. We moved quickly. That's our mandate really as Chancery. We move super fast. Unlike the royalty industry that traditionally has been a very slow moving beast. And I say the royalty business, they call themselves royalties companies because I think a lot of their managements think they are royalty. We come from gold mining, so we're simple folk, and we know all the pressures and challenges the gold miners have raising money when it really is important. So our style going forward, any gold company watching this video, we're open for business. We will sign a binding term sheet within 7 days of site visit and funding within 30 days. So we move super fast. And we're almost like the Costco or the Weatherspoon model of royalty industry, where those royalty groups that you are very familiar with take 3, 6, 7 months to close a transaction. We take literally 2 to 3 weeks.
We'll definitely pull on that thread a bit more later on, the royalty model and how you're trying to do it a bit differently than everyone else is. Perhaps we can quickly talk about the production profile of Laiva Gold for a second. And once it goes back into production next year, 2026, how many ounces should it be producing on an annual basis?
Well, we've assumed only 20,000 ounces in our prediction, in our forecast for Chancery. But I know the management, John and Jeremy, are talking of potentially getting up to 120,000 ounces over the medium term. And that is definitely possible with such a big mill. It might need an expansion, but Chancery royalty will take all of that expansion also at 2.5%. So it could become a very lucrative royalty. And the numbers we have in our model are very conservative.
All right, well understood on the Laiva gold royalty. Let's move to Gold Road for a second. This one is quite interesting because it's not on the gold, but on the silver.
Yes, we want some silver involved in this business because we're very bullish silver. We think it's going to $300 an ounce. But, we bought Gold Road only 8 months ago. Ustein obviously went and visited Jim and the whole team. And we've effectively done a deal where they will receive 2 million Chancery shares for life of mine of the silver production, which is only about 3% of their sales at the moment. And for every ounce of gold they produce, they make 2 ounces of silver in the way the shipments have been going the last couple of months. So that silver will be a very nice addition and definitely a sweetener to the portfolio.
And what does the production profile of Gold Road look like? The long-term potential is to go to 20,000 ounces, isn't it?
Yes. Now, we've assumed 15,000 gold ounces in the model, which would give you 30,000 silver ounces. So very conservative again, but I actually think Jim will ramp this business up, and we're very lucky to have Chairman Svein, who's from Norway, Svein Harald Auckland, who's been an amazing supporter. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Gold Road ramp up over time to 40,000 ounces of gold, which would be 80,000 ounces of silver. Again, our numbers are super conservative in these forecasts that you see.
Yeah, incredibly interesting. Of course, at $58 an ounce silver, where it's currently trading at the time of this recording, that's a nice added benefit to the profile. However, as you outlined earlier, if silver continues to ramp up to perhaps $100 or potentially even higher, it could move the needle.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. We're super proud to have Gold Road in the portfolio. And again, another advantage of building your own business, your own portfolio of gold mines, a bit like we're basically copying, I think the Wheaton Group did this 25 years ago, where they span out their royalties into a new group. And we're basically doing the same, where we effectively arrived. We've done what a lot of royalty guys would take 5 to 10 years to build, and we did it in 1 month. And we're not only doing that, we've already incorporated a binding agreement with Kefi within 2 weeks of incorporation of Chancery. So we're really in the mood to become a very big player. And, when you go from gold mining to gold royalty, Stein, it's a little bit like going from the roughest, toughest school that you can imagine where you're from to the poshest and most expensive and exclusive private school in Switzerland or Eton in England, where you have your own butler and your private chef. I mean, it's a different game. The royalty guys can't do what we're doing. They can't go from royalties to gold mining. They won't be able to hack it. But we are all about coming from the mining industry where we know the challenges, and we want to move, and we want to bring that experience to do more and more deals with our own partners and our own fellow miners. And we understand the pressures that they're under.
It is definitely an entirely different game, the royalty business. Talking about that Gold Road royalty for just a second longer, it's on the silver, we understand that?
Yes.
Is it on the entire concession?
Yes, it's on every concession. Anything that goes through the beautiful Gold Road mill. And there's only one mill in Arizona, an integrated mill, and it's ours. So the silver won't be being processed anywhere else anyway. So anything that goes through Gold Road's mill, we take the silver and the gold stays at Gold Road.
Oh, so the royalty is on the mill then?
Yes, that's how usually royalties work. And also concessions. Sometimes I've seen you can sometimes have a different ratio. So, for example, there is a royalty on Gold Road owned by a private family where they're paid 1% on the tailings and 2% on the underground feed. So that can also vary as well. But generally, whatever goes through the mill, you capture that royalty.
Interesting about the royalty models, if there's exploration upside on a project, like we've talked about extensively about Gold Road, there is geological exploration upside there. that could also, be a huge benefit in the future.
Yeah, look, we're really excited about Gold Road listing in Norway. I think it's probably going to be in February. Svein and his supporters have been incredible. And I think you're going to see Gold Road do fantastically well next year. And thank you, anyone who's listening who supported us on Gold Road. It's really becoming a great success story.
I would love to transition to Pilar Gold for a second. You're doing something quite unorthodox there. We're talking about, I believe, an 8% royalty, and Pilar is quite a large shareholder of Chancery royalties.
Yes. Some people, they either love it or they don't like it. And I love it because basically Pilar would deliver 8% of their gold for the next 8 years to Chancery, and then it'll drop to 3%. But in return, they're becoming a 43% shareholder in a royalty group that I think is going to have an $800 to $1 billion market cap. So that royalty also has a certain feature in that if my new management team, particularly with Kettle now coming on as CEO, if he wants to expand the mill above 4,500 tons a day, he can do that by maybe selling some proceeds from Chancery royalty. Then any expansion above 4,500 is royalty free. So we're actually motivating the management to expand the mill. The mill's massively undersized. It should be 10,000 tons a day, a bit like Tucano up in northern Brazil. So this way, we give in Pilar a significant stake in what I think is the most exciting new royalty group in the industry. And we'll probably spin it out to shareholders, maybe sell some of the stake next year to fund a very big expansion, and then spin it out to shareholders of Pilar, this Chancery royalty, like we spun out Laiva Gold 3 years ago, and that's going to now be an amazing success as well. So we're looking for maximum ways to grow value for our shareholders, and Pilar really is the centerpiece. Up until the Kefi deal was the centerpiece of this whole business. But now with Kefi on board, Kefi is actually by far our biggest future contributor of gold ounces.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So what's interesting there with that royalty is it drops from 8 to 3% after 8 years. And also, like you outlined, that 4,500 ton per day number, if you were to expand beyond that, all that upside would be for Pilar shareholders.
Yes, it does. We won't receive any royalty on any expansion. So we're motivating our management to really go for it. You've got 3 underground mines. You've got a huge open pit called Tres Barracas ready to start. It should be at least double the 4,500 tons a day. But obviously, Pilar doesn't have the money to do that right now. But now it becomes a larger shareholder. And incidentally, Stein, we're planning to list Chancery royalty in the next 3 months. So Pilar will have liquid stock. I'm not saying it'll just sell it straight away. I think it's going to significantly re-rate, sell some stock to fund an expansion, but then distribute these shares to our fantastic Pilar shareholders who've stuck with us over the last 5 years.
So do you see this as really an opportunity to unlock value on the short term, which Pilar could then use to grow more quickly?
Well, I tell you what's partly driven this, Stein. In the last 7 years, every royalty group has turned us down. And I'm a little bit bitter and twisted by that. But I think that's partly their arrogance and the way that they operate, and they always try and screw you at the last minute. They always change the terms. It sort of motivated us to say, you know what, let's do it ourselves, and let's almost finance. Sometimes if we need to finance one of our new mines, we'll do it through Chancery. So we don't need to go and beg and borrow and try and get money off these groups. That will take 6 months of our life of due diligence anyway. So it's a unique way of getting Pilar set with a substantial stake, letting them bounce, I think, grow to 100,000 ounces. Pilar is going to be $1 billion market cap with or without the royalty stake, but it's definitely a leapfrog and a fast way to fast track it.
We mentioned Kefi multiple times. I would love for you, Jeremy, to dive into that company for a second. What is the asset all about?
Wow, Kefi's amazing, and we've just started working on that 2 weeks ago. And we signed a binding term sheet yesterday. And effectively, that is 175,000 ounce a year producer for the next 7 years, and then has a very long tail of underground potential. The management team has stuck with it year in, year out. And we really admire the way Harry and the boys have stuck with it. And now they've finally got funding from 2 big African banks. And we just met them at the right time, the right moment. We fell in love with the project. I don't know if you know, but we basically funded all of K92 when it was private. And I see a lot of similarities with K92 and Kefi. Huge resource, huge potential, misunderstood by the market. And I think Kefi's going to be probably the most exciting new sort of gold story over the next 2 years as for a shareholder. Chancery Royalty is actually a shareholder in Kefi. As part of the deal, we bought $1 million of their stock just as a vote of confidence. You know, a lot of guys have told me it probably is the best undeveloped gold deposit in all of Africa. In a pretty amazing country, Ethiopia, which is booming, which is, I only hear great things. I used to spend a lot of time in the DRC back in the day with cobalt in Mozambique and Zimbabwe, but I think Ethiopia is a step above all those and most of the peer in West Africa.
And that resource that you outlined, I believe it's 1.75 million ounces of gold in the ground, incredible production profile of 175,000 per annum, both open pit and underground feed. The startup of the mine has been almost fully financed, hasn't it?
Yes, it's now fully funded. Harry's ready to start getting things moving in Q1 of next year. I mean, it's going to take 2 years to build it. You won't see, as you see in the slide here, you won't see production hitting our bottom line until 28. But you know, I think the other big change in the royalty business is we're in the era of big royalties. You know, the days of the 1s and the 2%, they don't hack it anymore. Look at G Mining Ventures. They took 12% from Franco. No one seemed to worry about that. That's the best performing gold stock in the world. 8% on Pilar. We got criticised for that. But again, huge benefits for Pilar shareholders. And we can earn up the right to do 9% royalty on Kefi, which is big, right? That's a big royalty. It's a game changer for us. But look, we're in the mood to be bigger than Elemental. We want to be bigger than Versamet. We're already going to be bigger than Gold Royalty. And we're much, much bigger than Vox and Metala. And all of those guys turned us down. So this is we're going to show them just how good we really are. And we're going to teach them the way business can be run in the royalty space. It doesn't need to be an exclusive members club. This is for, we're really excited about building a multi-billion-dollar royalty business and growing super fast.
All right. Perhaps we can quickly talk about the terms of this royalty. You outlined that you have the option to potentially acquire up to 9%.
Yeah, so each 3% is 10 million. And we're putting the first 10 million down right now, the second 10 million in 3 months, and the third 10 million tranche in 6 months' time. And each 10 million gets you 3% royalty up to 30,000 ounces. They keep 20% of the gold price. And after 30,000 ounces, it drops to 2% to capture that beautiful underground potential longer term. So it is a very big royalty, and it basically, it's a game changer for us. Obviously got risk, obviously takes time, things can happen, get delayed, but we're all about building big royalties. We're not in the 1% to 2% stuff. We want to go big. And Kefi was in a spot where they really wanted to just get this done. And we went binding super fast, and we're really happy with Harry and the whole management team at Kefi, and think this is a game changer for Chancery Royalty.
Well understood. Initially, you of course get a larger chunk of the gold production. If you were to, do the full 3 different tranches, you would then at the end, once that first 90,000 ounces has been repaid, 3 times 30,000 ounces, you would then have a 6% royalty. That's how it works?
Exactly right. You go from 3 to 6, yeah. Exactly right, Stein. But they still keep the 20% price participation, which is totally fair. So yeah, really fantastic transaction, and I think anyone who doesn't know Kefi Gold and Copper, take a look at trades in London. 130 million sterling market cap. It should be 2 billion when it's producing. So one to watch. Harry's amazing, a true visionary. He stuck with it year in, year out. Copped a lot of criticism. I know what that feels like. But we're really excited about Kefi and the potential it's going to bring for Chancery Royalty.
And what an interesting investment. Should you do the 3 different tranches, you're putting in $30 million US total. If you're getting 15,000 geos a year, 80% of that would be almost $45 to $50 million a year.
Yeah, it's a super fast payback. It's very attractive terms. Harry just wants to get it built, right? There's so much fat in that ore body. There's so much potential. Every year that it gets delayed, it's just a missed opportunity. So, I think he made the right decision. Just go for it, pay a little extra, get it done, get it producing, and really transform Kefi into what it'll be the second biggest gold mine in Ethiopia after Allied Gold, which I think goes into production next year. So these are big, big ore bodies, right? You don't find these anymore in most parts of the world. It actually reminds me a lot of Tucano, our beautiful Tucano gold mine in Brazil, in northern Brazil.
What are the startup plans for Kefi?
So yeah, they're basically going to mobilize in Q1. They've already got a contractor. They've got the whole thing's been planned out, and we'll be going to site in January. Would love you to come, Stein, if you can find it in your super busy schedule. But look, they've got a very timeline. They're fully funded now with 2 large African banks. We're only a small part of that transaction, but obviously important to get it done quickly, and obviously they've got shareholder support for it as well.
Incredibly interesting, Jeremy. I would love to talk about the long-term vision for a second and the royalty model as well. I mean, currently with this pipeline that you have and the producing assets that we spoke about, you could get close to 25 to 28,000 gold equivalent ounces a year already. Is that a great spot to remain, or is there a vision to potentially grow further?
Hey, we've only been doing it a couple of weeks, and look how big we've got. So why not? Why can't we be 100,000? Why can't we be knocking on the door of the big mid tier? But obviously, Elemental and Versamed are the 2 biggest in our universe. They're at about 20,000 GEOs right now. Gold Royalty is at 12,000. Metala and Vox are about 5,000. So we're already the same size as Vox and Metala. But we want to grow. We're in the mood to do deals. We move super fast. We have access to significant capital. We're debt free. We have a super tight share structure. And just to put this valuation round in perspective, coming out at 0.2 times price to NAV, that is 1/5 the valuation of the combined Vox, Elemental, Metala, and Gold Royalty average valuation of 1 times or one times plus price to NAV. So like all of our companies before, Stein, we price these super well, to give our shareholders significant upside. When we go listed in the next 3 months, you'll see hopefully see a significant return on your investment.
And then we haven't even spoken about the dividend payout policy yet. That seems to be quite strict for you guys.
It's a minimum 50% payout, so that would give at this current round a yield of about 18%. But we want to go more than that because look, we're different in that we have our profit margins on the current portfolio before Kefi comes in will be around 95%. After Kefi, it will be about 89% profit margin, and we have very tight corporate overheads. We never fly business. We don't go to expensive conferences. We keep things. I mean, most of my business is done on my iPhone, and I pay £20 a month for my calling card. So we do it a bit different than those posh royalty guys who always hang out in the private members clubs. We're the Weatherspoons of the royalty business. We pay $2 a pint, not £15. So I think the payout and the dividend yield will be significant, and the share structure is super tight, where Pilar owns 43% of it, right? So it's gonna, I think, do extremely well when it starts trading in Q1.
And of course, Jeremy, you're private currently. You mentioned there's plans to go public. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Right now, we want to go public by the end of Q1. Actually started a beauty parade talking to smaller royalty groups who don't have critical size, who've got a listing in Canada. And really start talking with them. But also I think it makes sense to list in Canada because it's the home of royalties. So let's see. I've got lots of conversations, and the whole team, we're talking now to a lot of different groups, but we want to list this as soon as possible. And also, I don't know if you viewers are aware, but Tether, and I hadn't even heard of Tether until about a week ago, the big stablecoin group are now buying huge stakes in all of our competition. Have you seen that, Stein?
Definitely have. It's an interesting way to play the gold space for Tether.
Yeah, you should show that slide that we put in the presentation, but they've got 32% stake of Elemental. They have, I think, 12 or 15% stakes in Gold Royalty, in Versamet, and nearly 6% in Metala. And they're just coming from nowhere and buying huge stakes in basically our competition. So let's see if they ring us, but we don't really need them. We have an amazing supporter base. 1,400 investors have backed us on our gold mining group. So we're very confident about growing through their support, and we don't really need institutions. We don't need Tether. But hey, would love to meet them at some point, maybe not at this current round of valuation.
All right, well understood. Let's talk about the valuation for a second. You already talked about price to NAV. Can we talk about it in absolute terms? What are roughly the shares outstanding, and what would roughly be the pre-money valuation currently? 33
million shares outstanding pre this current 10 million round. 33 million. So that pre-money would value them, 32 million shares will value the business at $64 million. We're doing a $2 a share round at 64 million. And next year, just on the current GEOs that we should deliver, it will deliver about 4,000 ounces at least, which is around 16 million at current gold prices. So you're basically on a PE of around 4, and I think the sector trades on about 30. So that gives you an idea of how cheaply we'll price this, and we're all about moving quickly and giving our shareholders significant upsides. Because if we make them money, let's say Laiva's listing, for example, finally listing after waiting 3 years, and all of our guys, I think, are going to make a 6x on the first day of trading, for example. We like that, right? Because that gives us an ability to buy loyalty. It means the next transaction we do, we can ring them up. And so we're all about giving our shareholders multiple returns. And also in the backdrop, Stein, of where I think the gold market, we call in 5,000 by this Christmas. I might be 2 weeks or 3 weeks early, but definitely 7,000 by Christmas of the end of next Christmas, 26. So that is an incredible backdrop for a royalty group with the portfolio that we have. And don't forget, we have a number of transactions in the pipeline that will add another 4,000 to 5,000 GEOs as well. So all of that's to come, and we're super excited. And I tell you, I think it's the defining transaction of the 7-year journey that we've been on so far.
For anyone watching, Jeremy, that's incredibly interested, how can they potentially reach out to potentially participate?
Sure, Stein. Just click on the More button under your video, and that will take you into a landing page for Chancery Royalty. Just fill in your name, your email, and your number, and we'll happily give you a call. Myself, Max, Eric, or Ed are available anytime to give you an idea of what we're doing and to just give you more background on why I think this is going to be a very exciting investment. And we've done this, for all of our companies. We have a number of repeat business. If you ever want to talk to other shareholders of the experience they've had in Pilar, in Tucano, Laiva, Gold Road, Pure Tungsten. Don't forget Pure Tungsten, Stein. That's an amazing producer of tungsten kicking off in Q1. Just click on that and would happily give you a call. And we have shareholders. We have 1,400 shareholders all around the world. We're on the phone all the time, and our shareholders are our number one priority, because they're the reason we've managed to achieve the success we have achieved. And it hasn't been easy. There's been certainly very tough times, and they're the ones that got us through. And we're just sort of repaying the loyalty a little bit with Chancery Royalty.
All right. Thank you for taking us along there, Jeremy. The fingers remain crossed for a swift listing for Laiva. Hopefully some news from the Tucano side soon. Of course, the restart on Gold Road. Incredibly exciting, everything that you're doing currently.
Yeah, Tucano's going really well. First production into February. That's going to be a $2 billion company. You've been to Tucano. I've got a feeling Tucano might come into this portfolio also, and that's a big mine as well. So, watch this space. Still a bit more talking to do with our partners and our shareholders. But, if we bring in Tucano into Chancery, then we're bigger than Elemental. So, happy days. Let's take it one step at a time. We've only been doing this for 4 weeks, but really appreciate your support, Stein and Lars, and everyone who's been watching these videos over the last 4 or 5 years.
Jeremy Gray, CEO of Chancery Royalty, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
You're the best, Stein. Thanks, mate.